Back in 2013, we were looking at the overall smartphone market, and apart from Apple, we thought that all the smartphones weren't very good. When it came to features, they had useless features like a heartbeat sensor, or when it came to design, it was very plasticky, very cheap feeling, and we saw that we could add value to this. At the same time, we also saw that e-commerce was growing globally as a means of distributing smartphones. And I mean, we didn't have very high expectations overall. Like, it was like a Kickstarter project maybe. Yeah. We thought maybe like 30,000, 50,000 units the first year. But then when we started shipping, it was pretty crazy. I don't actually know why. Maybe it's because this was the first kind of mover to do direct-to-consumer on a global level, and no one had seen this before, so it was a very unique thing. Coupled to the fact that the product itself was solid. It was a great product, a new model, and really hard to get. So maybe that was the reason. Yeah. We don't have a blueprint. It's been very organic. It's been a lot of gut checks, what feels right. As a result, we became pretty different, but there wasn't like a holistic strategy saying, hey, first year we do this and then we do that. It's been very kind of as you go. We always wanted our users or our fans to feel like they were kind of creating and morphing the company together with us. So before we even had our first product, we had forums where we would ask product-related questions. We said, hey, we're going to make the world's best smartphone. So we made a lot of audacious claims in the beginning, and we need your help. So we would ask questions about the features and what they wanted to see. We actually did the same thing again for the OnePlus 3. And it actually turns out that the final product is quite similar to what our community wanted. For those who don't know us, we're actually one of the first direct-to-consumer brands to sell globally. And what this means is we can skip a lot of the middlemen in between a product and the consumer and deliver a very competitive product at around half the price of a normal flagship smartphone. And I mean, because this has 64 gigs of storage, and normally you would start with 32 or 16. Starting in Shenzhen and being close to the manufacturing, I think has helped us a lot. People have expectations on us. You can't say, hey, it's our third year, we don't know how to manage inventory, we don't know how to control our risk. At some point in time, the excuses become no longer valid, right?
What was the main thinking behind the VR launch?
I think the main thinking is, if you were to host a traditional media event, it will be like a few hundred media, and our fans will be left completely in the dark. And because they're so spread out geographically, I think VR is the best way to keep everyone in the loop at the same time. So last year we did the world's first VR product launch. A few months later, Samsung also did something similar. This year we're trying to make it so that the OnePlus 3 VR experience is the first global product purchase in VR. So towards the end of the experience, you can actually buy the phone in VR. But for all these ways of differentiating a company or a brand, it all still goes back to the product. Just imagine the OnePlus One. If the product sucked, I mean, no one would have invited their friends to buy it. It's the same for our VR. If the product is bad, no one's going to watch the VR. Overall, VR is very, very early. We know it's going to be a really important technology, but there's just so many ideas and so many platforms currently competing, and it's too early to pivot our entire company to really focus on that. If you look at how people use a smartphone, putting it into a VR headset is still a very, very small portion of the time. So we shouldn't be considering that at all. We should be focusing on the best user experience when you're using a smartphone, for a smartphone. The design, build quality, this has 6 gigs of RAM, whereas others have 4 gigs or 3 gigs. So I think we're pretty competitive. Also on the camera, pretty competitive. But I think where this really stands out is in the charging technology. We have a unique charging technology called Dash Charge, and it works very differently from other charging technologies. So it's both faster but also cooler. This adapter is much larger than the port of a phone, so the adapter can dissipate much more heat, and then when it lets the current flow to the phone, it's already in a cool state. Most of our growth comes from organic word of mouth, and because of the internet and smartphones and social media, that's what's making word of mouth spread much faster. So 10 years ago, there was still word of mouth. You would buy something on TV and then you would tell your friends about it, but social media makes it happen much faster.